The jewel of Iloilo's heritage is the Augustinian Church in Miagao, dedicated to St. Thomas of Villanueva. Although his santo occupies the center niche, it is the relief directly above that is truly eye-catching. Here, St. Christopher is seen in a tropical landscape with papaya as he crosses the river bearing the child Jesus. The facade is a work of art that merited the church the distinction of being named to the UNESCO World Heritage List. The stone used was carbonaceous sandstone, a variety known for its honey color. In late afternoon, the light bathes the entire structure in a subtle reddish gold gleam.
Miagao Church was built starting in 1786 and it was finished in 1797. This was built for 11 years and so many men in this town labored to build this magnificent church. The stones were quarried about 18 kilometers away from the mountains of the neighboring town of Igbaras. Some of it were quarried from the barangays of Dingle and Calampitaw of this town. The stones are sandstone, but the carbonaceous type, which makes it honey-colored. And from the mountains, they cut it into big bricks and put it all together using egg white, lime, and sand, the combination of which we call mortar as adhesive. It's a little mystery how our ancestors were able to carve on sandstone, because as of now, sandstone proves to be very vulnerable to metal. So when we use metal chisels to carve on sandstone, the tendency is for the sandstone to easily break. I think our ancestors were able to develop a kind of technology where the boulders of sandstone were immersed first on water to soften it a little bit, and then they carve it using heavy friction with wood materials. One of the geohazards recorded in this church is the settlement due to the accumulation of moisture. As we can see, the walls of this church are made of heavy-duty materials, but deep inside it are plain rubble and mixed stone materials. So it's very vulnerable to the trappment of moisture. And through the years, moisture is trapped inside, so it has to be let in order to declog the walls and to minimize the weight of the whole structure that goes against the soil underneath.
The Church of San Joaquin in Iloilo is another Augustinian jewel that must be preserved. The facade depicts a long-forgotten but important Spanish victory, the Battle of Tetuan in Morocco, in which the Moors were defeated. Built from coral stone in the 19th century, the story of its construction is part of the community memory.
This church was constructed using coral blocks hauled from Punta Malagting at Barangay Kataan, part of the town of San Joaquin. It was brought to this town using bamboo raft, and the San Joaquinons have to haul that from the water's edge all the way to the area where the church is now presently located. The bell tower was destroyed during the 1948 earthquake, but as of now, we were just trying to restore the facade. It was done through the supervision of the National Historical Commission of the Philippines, and we had to use the local materials to bring that back again. And we used a lot of lime and yellow sandstone and egg white to replace or restore the losses on the facade. And as regards to the color, we had to use the original material, or you have to be very, very close to the original material, which was used by the builder of this church. So to bring back the red tint, we had to use the red bricks we found all over the place, and the blue color used the blue Siwaragan stone we hauled from the river of Siwaragan. We had to use a bit of grumbacher to bring back the desired blue tint on the facade.
Two other churches in Iloilo have interesting restoration stories that point to racial memories as an important part of a heritage structure. The first is a Church of the Immaculate Conception in Oton.
The story of the image of the Immaculate Conception, as we can see right now, is that it protected the whole municipality, the whole town against typhoons, disasters, and a lot of calamities, as evidenced by the people, by the experiences of the modern generation, that even though there's Yolanda, Typhoon Frank, Typhoon Millennia, Oton was spared, even though the neighboring towns were affected.
The Church of Santa Barbara, on the other hand, is memorable to the residents of the town because of its involvement in the socio-political upheaval of the Philippine Revolution.
It was constructed in 1849, led by the Augustinian Fathers. It was through forced labor, and the materials came from the town around Santa Barbara, namely Tubungan, Leon, Alimujan. Santa Barbara Church and Convent is considered as a National Historical Landmark, having served as the headquarters of the revolutionary movement under General Martin Teofilo Delgado during the Spanish time. And recently, it was also declared by the National Museum as a National Cultural Treasure.
Community and local government efforts will be very important in undertaking the cultural mapping that must be the norm for all heritage sites. Vigan in Ilocos Sur is one such exemplary site.
They put up convention centers based on their heritage. They put up conservation complexes based on their heritage. They did so many museums based on the maps that they were able to put together. They renewed many of the traditional crafts based on the heritage. No? So they deepened many of the researches. The moment the city becomes very active in terms of investment in tourism, the land prices shoot up. You couldn't get a piece of land now in that very prime space of Crisologo Street or any other place in Vigan. So it's very encouraging. It's a very good model.
We're thinking, no, Vigan doesn't have the beautiful beaches of Boracay, the beautiful mountain ranges of the Cordilleras. But we do have a very rich culture and history. Now, slowly, the Vigan houses have evolved back to what it was originally, because they were all shop houses. So shops on the ground and living quarters on the second floor. When we had a movement to have Vigan inscribed in the UNESCO World Heritage List, there were actually two things that they were looking into also. And one is that you have protective legislation. And the second one is that you have community participation.
Vigan and Iloilo are only two heritage sites in an archipelago so rich in important cities, towns, and structures. Through the efforts of the Escuela Taller, a new generation of craftsmen, artisans, and technicians are being prepared for the important work of preservation.